Iron Man. So, if you don't know, we're going to do a Marvel throwback. I'm not going to say Thursday because it'll come out whenever the fuck I feel like it. And we're just going to go through all the Marvels in order. And we're starting with...
God help us when we get to the early Cap, and the next one's just going to be god-awful.
Which one's the next one?
Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
The Incredible Hulk, which somehow got a 4K release before the Iron Man trilogy.
Yeah, I didn't even go with that. But yes, so this is the one that started it all. I want you start with your thoughts, because you just you're fresher with it. I watched it about a week ago.
I just watched it about a week and a half ago, and then rewatched bits and pieces of it today to kind of scrub through and try to find a thumbnail, only to find out the Movies Anywhere doesn't allow you to screen cap anything for a fucking thumbnail, just like Netflix. So that's fun. But yeah, this is the one that kind of laid the foundation for something that on paper shouldn't have fucking worked.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's easy to forget that before this movie, people kind of Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, it was a joke. It was like, oh, those little kiddie comics, like comics, like no one thought about them other than like hardcore comic geeks. Iron Man wasn't a household name. It was just like, Iron Man? Who the fuck? You know, other than the song, I Am Iron Man.
Yeah, but also take into the fact that Robert Downey Jr. was kind of a pariah to Hollywood at that time. Like, prison.
No one wanted to touch him. No one wanted to work with him. He had drug issues. Yeah.
So for him to go from that to the superstar he is now really is just one of Hollywood's greatest comebacks, really.
Yeah, he started in this movie. I don't remember the exact number. He made some like really low amount in this movie because basically the studio was like, yeah, we're taking a chance with Robert Downey here. He could make or break this story because they had no trust in him. So he was making very low amount. And then the second he proved himself, all the next movies, he was like, fuck you, I want this much, bitch. But the first movie, he was like making nothing. And like I said, he really made, I mean, it was him. He had that snark down. And it's hard to get to a level of snark where you're like likable, but still snarky. You can be snarky in a way that makes you fucking hate them, but he's just got such a unique way of delivering lines, like I don't even know. It's just I can't even put it to words. He's just got a Robert Downey Jr.-ness to him. You know, just like you can be like, oh, that guy has a JonTron-esque humor style. Yes, I know he's racist. I know you like to bring that up every time I bring up JonTron. Like, racist now. I know. I'm just saying, when I first watched JonTron, it was like, oh, that guy's got a really unique humor style. Robert Downey Jr. has got a very unique acting style. It's very distinct to him, I would say.
Oh, yeah, you follow through, because I went back and watched a lot of his other movies recently, and just like anything he's in, he has that kind of style to him. Even those Sherlock Holmes movies that he was in, like, he's still, nowadays you associate Robert Downey Jr. with Tony Stark, Iron Man. Back in the day, you would associate him with his earlier roles, and like, oh, and the fact that he's been in prison for cocaine and drugs and all this other shit.
Yeah, he was almost a Charlie Sheen, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was kind of Charlie Sheen before Charlie Sheen went on a bender and fucked everything with a vagina.
Oof. But yeah, so like movie-wise, I really liked... It shows you like the humble beginnings of Marvel, right? Like now we're at a point where it's intergalactic aliens, yada yada, but this was just a guy...
Please, you've been to space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was great, especially as someone who's into politics. When you get even a little into politics, you realize, oh, basically we're in perpetual war because war is profitable. Play Metal Gear Solid 4, watch the first fucking cutscene. It's all laid out for you, basically.
Yeah, you mean cutscene the movie 4.
Yeah, it's a great fucking game. Shut your mouth.
It's not a game, it's a fucking movie.
Yeah, but sometimes the cutscenes have like a hold X to smoke a cigar harder. Ooh, interactability. So in this
just super
movie,
looking forward to Amazon Delivery Simulator.
Yeah, in this movie, it's very much focused on that aspect where Tony Stark's company,
profiteering.
Yeah, he makes weapons for war, and I love the mentality and the ideology there because he, like many people that are in that industry, they absolve themselves of all guilt because that's what they have to do to sleep at night. Yeah. They say to themselves, well, you know, I make the weapons, but if I didn't, someone
They
else
pull the
would, and if
trigger.
I didn't, some bad person would, so I'm doing good because I'm providing my side with weapons. But, you know, you're giving them to people that'll use them for bad. The U.S. will, either they'll accidentally fall into the wrong hands, or they'll literally make deals where they sell them to bad people, and then those bad people will put them into other bad people's hands. So, basically...
And then we'll go fight those other bad people and then make money.
So, yeah, all he's doing is... It's very Albert Einstein-esque, where, like, he was trying to help the world with nuclear energy, and then oopsie, I kind of led to the nuke, right? So that was Tony Stark's thing. He kind of absolved himself of all this guilt by saying, okay, I'm just making these things, you can't blame me. But then beautifully, just like, real life never works out this nice, right? Where irony and karma just like perfectly meld to just give it to who needs it, right? And I love this story as someone who is very involved in like looking at people that are corrupt. You have this corrupt guy in Tony Stark kind of have exactly what needs to happen to him to realize his mistakes. So, his own weapon blows up in his face, puts that shrapnel in his heart. He sees that his weapons are in the hands of terrorists, and then that really changes him. And one of my favorite parts of the movie, period, and again, this shows you how different it is when you're watching a movie. When you're watching a movie and you're into, like, you understand politics, it's so much better because you realize every movie has aspects of politics. And in this movie...
Try explaining that to a Star Wars fan, that there's social justice in there, and you'll end up with the...
Most of the Star Wars movies is space politics. But anyway, my favorite part of this movie, honestly, one of them, is when he comes back and he immediately calls a meeting, right? And you kind of have Obadiah Stane. He represents, like, I want to keep things the way they are, don't fuck with me, don't fuck with the company, we're making a lot of money.
Gotta maintain that status quo there. You just gotta
and then
keep
Tony
making
comes
weapons for
back with his
terrorists.
heart, and it's so great to see Tony, the face of the company, have a meeting where it's like, we're done making weapons, done. And the stocks are falling, and everyone's freaking out. And it's just, I love moments where people just throw a spoke into the status quo. And now, this leads me to my first complaint with the movie, and one of the only complaints I have with the movie. I had misremembered the villain's motivation. Originally, I thought that he wanted to kill Tony after he realized that he was a detriment to the company. No, he wanted to kill Tony before that. He actually arranged to get him captured. So to me, that made him as a villain less interesting because he was already that nuts. Like, I arranged to have you killed. I think it would have been a lot more realistic to real life and a lot more realistic and understandable of a motive if he was just a guy who's basically shadow running Stark Industries and he's rich as fuck for it and he just wants Tony to shut up and be the mouthpiece for it while he makes all the money. I think it would have made more sense if after he came out and said, I don't want to make weapons anymore, that's when he wanted to kill him.
You're going to cost us all of our money. You're going to cost us all of our money. You're going to cost me my livelihood. You're going to, Yeah, it definitely would make more sense, but also, it kind of makes sense the way it plays out, too. Mm-hmm. It's a play it safe to make money on an IP kind of movie because there was no... I really believe at that time there was no, like, we're going to make this fucking 10, 11 years worth of fucking movies. We're going to make an Iron Man movie, and we're going to be lucky.
They were definitely planning they were planning the MCU because at the end of this movie, Nick Fury's like, you've become part of the bigger world. Yeah.
But you seem to forget that back in the day, they were planning a sequel for the Super Mario Brothers movie. So there's always been this set up sequels before they happen kind of mentality in studios' mind.
Of course, if this movie wasn't a success, then they couldn't have done it, of course. But I think that they were hoping that it would be.
They were hoping. They were hoping for Super Mario Brothers to be successful too.
Fair enough. But yeah, some really great scenes. Another great scene that I never realized how good it was until I watched it again was because how many times are you sitting? Okay, let me backtrack. I think one of the best things that movies and fictional medium can do is take like a fantasy that you have and perfectly like let you live that fantasy through, right? Oh yeah. So one of my favorite moments of this movie is like, how many times have you been watching the news and you see some horrible shit happening and you wish you could just, you yourself had the power to just go and change that, right? But we feel so powerless. The moment where Tony Stark is watching on the news, forgive me, it's been like a week or two, remind me though, but he was watching on the news something about like his own weapons being used or this particular town in what was happening again? Remind me.
It was the weapons being used to kind of torment this fucking village.
Yeah. So he's seeing his own shit. All this shit going wrong.
Seeing his tools of war, and it's kind of a prevailing theory throughout the MCU, like Stark tech being used against people, fucking, or in Ultron, his tech going fucking awry, or in Endgame, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, it's almost out of theaters at this point, so fuck you. Them not taking his fucking warnings and building, the fucking suit of armor around the planet, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that fucking aspect of Tony always seeing his shit blow up in his face has always been there, really.
Oh, yeah, it's his constant curse. Which is kind of nice to see, in Endgame, his Infinity Gauntlet that he builds is actually the saving grace.
Right.
Now,
so, for once, I'm right.
Yeah. So, speaking to that scene, though, I love that scene because it's so satisfying to see, like, here's this thing happening halfway around the world. And I have the power to just fly over there and single-handedly change that. That shit was so satisfying to be like, nope, I'm not dealing with this. Flies over there. The Air Force was like, what the fuck is that? Did we authorize a fucking... Like, it was handled very realistically because,
right.
the U.S. base is always keeping track of, like, certain hotspots and that they have, like, plans for when they're going to go in. So if, like, randomly, like, this aircraft just... Like, what the fuck's happening? What's going on?
Did we authorize that?
What?
Yeah. Do we authorize that moment? Yeah, that's definitely fucking...
I loved the panic in that moment. I loved, them, like, assuming it's just like, oh, Tony, it's one of your automated things. And he's like, no, I'm in it, please.
I'm in it. Please, don't blow it up.
Yeah.
1 second. Oh, I pull this up. And this is pretty much my favorite fucking scene. You Bob, vamp for a second while I pull this up, or are you gonna edit this?
Oh, I'll just edit it. Hey, let me just see
right.
when timestamp wise it is. Hold on. Hold on. 12:40.
So,
hold on. Give me a sec.
So this.
Okay, so all right. What was your favorite scene?
Like right at the beginning, they're kind of talking about like the weapons of war and how they've always changed, and then the 10 circles guy points to the arc reactor while he's doing this whole fucking speech, and it's kind of like this foreshadowing of how, and at least in my opinion, how the suits will become the new weapons of war. Really, like he kind of had this fucking forethought that this isn't just powering your heart; you're planning something else with this fucking.
Well, yeah, it very much to go back to that Einstein metaphor. It's like he accidentally made the nuke. You've done another thing. You've basically assured. Ironically, you wanted to not go into weapons, but you've basically assured the next stage of weaponry. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he's going through like how Genghis Khan kind of revolutionized warfare with the bow, and how he had an empire bigger than Alexander the Great or the Romans and all this shit, and he's giving this big impassioned speech, and he's about to put hot fucking iron in Yinsen's fucking mouth. I think that was his fucking name. The B-list character that fucking was the mentor figure, ironically. That's kind
of. Don't forget Rhodey being played by a different guy who
I think it was Terrence. I think it was Terrence Howard was the original Rhodey.
Imagine how he feels now. Like, I'm assuming he said no to the sequel. Is that what happened?
Well, there's actually an article right here. When I googled Terrence Howard, ironically, he was replaced by fucking Don Cheadle. Obviously, there was turns out the person I helped become Iron Man when it was time for re-up. The second one, he took the money that was supposed to go to me and pushed me out. The unnamed he is apparently Robert Downey Jr. and that basically, I guess there's some bad blood there now.
I can imagine. I mean, honestly, like, I gotta throw some shade at Robert Downey. He seems a bit greedy to me. Like, the amount of money he asks for in these movies is absolutely ridiculous to me. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Like, yes, he's great, but, like, Jesus.
Well, I won't give him credit when he went to bat for, like, I'll take less if my co-stars get paid more kind of moment. So they were... I think a lot of it's fucking Disney riding the coattails of Robert Downey.
Yeah, I mean, I know he wanted to leave for a long time, too, so...
And basically, he was... I think he was in the mentality, if I keep asking for more money, maybe they'll cut me loose, kind of thing. Maybe they'll be like, dear God, let him go. He's not worth $99 billion fucking dollars a movie.
Steal my character already.
So, yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, really. He definitely did go to bat for his other co-stars to fucking get paid more and more fairly. But he also, he asked for an absurd amount of fucking money. But,
yeah, fair. So, I'm trying to think. What did you think about the way the movie ended? You had, of course, the Marvel trope, the classic. The bad guy has similar powers to the good guy, but slightly bigger and eviler.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that was set up here. Obviously, this was the foundation for the Avengers Initiative, which we found out that was named because Carol Avenger Danvers and Captain Marvel. We'll get to that sometime in June when the movie comes out. Yeah. I have a 4K release of that coming to my fucking doorstep.
I don't know if I want to see Captain Marvel again.
Well, we gotta review every Marvel movie ever. That's what we agreed to.
I remember it. I'm dying just thinking about it.
It wasn't that bad. It definitely beats Hulk.
There are parts of that movie that I'm not looking forward to rewatching.
There's a lot of the Hulk, mainly the entire movie, that I'm not looking forward to rewatching.
I don't remember much about the Hulk. You know, I remember
it on 4K.
I remember a lot more about the original Hulk, like the 2003 one.
Oh God!
I watched the fuck out of that. That was like a childhood movie for me, honestly.
That was a good
I probably
movie.
Shouldn't have been because I'm assuming it's fucked up. I don't really remember because do you remember the I believe it was either probably a PS2 game. There was a PS2 game about that. You remember that? I have very good memories of the 2003 PS2 Hulk game because there's a level where you can just throw shit at other shit. And then you can throw people at other shit. One of my favorite moments, like things in that game period, was there's a level where a helicopter comes down and then people descend off the helicopter. And if you time it exactly right and throw some shit at the helicopter will blow up, and then the guys will be suspended in midair, and then they'll fall and go ah all at once. And then there's like the voice lines are layered over. It's so funny.
It just clips its own audio over and over.
I have very good memories of playing that game with my babysitter, and like my babysitter like laughing hysterically at that moment.
I need to fucking get a copy of that at like Disc Traders and fucking just record that. I would love
to play that again. Like that would be such a nostalgic moment if we could get that. I'm gonna look for it. Bro.
Just fucking hook the Elgato up to that bitch and record that clip and put it into the
Twitch stream, bruh.
Put that. Why are they playing this god-awful movie tie-in game?
Controlled Chaos plays The Hulk 2003. I remember that was the game where it was like half of the missions were like sneaking around as Bruce Banner in a lab. And then it was like, finally, I can be the Hulk for about 5 minutes and then go back to sneaking around as Bruce Banner in a lab.
I mean, it's no worse than the fucking Family Guy game that came out around the same time.
Yeah. But I guess, any more thoughts on Iron Man here?
So, what I love about Iron Man is it absolutely set up this entire fucking universe, but what it did masterfully is it started the Easter egg hunt. So for me, going back and rewatching it after Endgame, and like it created its own Easter eggs, basically. Like, well, this here ties into this Marvel movie, and this here ties into this Marvel movie, and this one that. And you
like, I was recently watching that thing about how there was like an Infinity Gauntlet in Odin's like treasure room, and they had to like retcon it by saying, "Oh, it's fake in Ragnarok."
Yeah, because people pointed it out. Like, but like you end up with those like beautiful mind style fucking web chart of like this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. This ties into this comic, that ties into this fucking comic, that ties into this comic, and this ties into this movie. It's masterful how fucking well they've planned all this fucking shit out for all these years.
It's clearly written by fans, at least. There's people there that are fans, clearly.
Yeah, and then obviously it was planned also to, in case it failed, to be a standalone movie.
Yep. Yeah.
And that time, definitely a superhero movie wasn't known to do super well. I think before that, and I'm pulling this up, like, so memory serves me properly.
They definitely fucking did magic with that movie. Like, that was the movie where they fucking rocked it, like, for sure. Like, that there was so much riding on that movie, and that's gonna be, I mean, they are gonna teach this movie along with the entire, like, Marvel run in, like, cinema classes, film classes for the rest of time, because they really pulled off a thing that had never been pulled off successfully in the history of film.
So before Iron Man, which came out in 2008.
I mean, you had that, like, pre-Iron Man, you had shitty stuff, like the cringy Batmans with, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Iceman, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of shit you were getting. And then I think early 2000s you had a lot of like overly edgy superhero movies as well, like your really like dramatic edgy ones.
Yeah, there's
they weren't looked upon highly. They were very much looked.
There was a Hellboys, fucking The Crows you had, but even that wasn't really comic.
They were looked at like they were corny. Like no one took them seriously, for sure.
And Howard the Duck, and then obviously the 2003 Hulk movie, and fucking the Sam Raimi Iron Man trilogy. Mm-hmm. That's
Spider-Man?
pretty much it, really. Yeah, so
you mean Spider-Man trilogy? You said Iron Man trilogy.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is the
Sam
last
Raimi
one.
Iron Man.
God,
Tobey Maguire as Iron Man.
Honestly, Tobey Maguire, what is he doing now?
Imagine, what is he doing? I was going to say, imagine black suit Tobey Maguire from Spider-Man 3 as Tony Stark.
Oh, God, no.
I'm going to look up what Tobey Maguire is doing right now while you give your final thoughts on Iron Man.
Oh, yeah. I think the very last one before that was Constantine, the Keanu Reeves fucking Constantine movie. Who still wants to play that? And can we just give Keanu Reeves another superhero movie at this point? Motherfucker's John Wick.
All right.
He's doing great.
Final thoughts.
But final thoughts on Iron Man. Well, like I said, set up all this fucking internal Easter egg hunts with being made by real fans, as you pointed out. But what it does poorly here is age. It does not age very well.
I didn't really see it. When I watched it, I didn't have much of an issue.
The references are dated super, super badly. Like, we have a
MySpace joke. I don't want to see this on your MySpace page.
And we have, like, Taliban references with the 10 rings, obviously. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of this pseudo-political, like, fucking Afghanistan war shit.
I mean, but that's inevitable. Like, I mean, I guess the only way they could have made it truly timeless is if it was just a generic war that wasn't named, I suppose.
Exactly. That's the only way they could have really avoided something like that.
And I feel like it still works because the Marvel timeline is in sync with the real timeline until the recent 5-year jump. I mean, so that still took place in 2008. And that would have been who they were dealing with back then.
Exactly. So in its own timeline, it ages well to us as humans.
Tobey Maguire hasn't done shit. Like, the last thing he did was apparently he did a voice in Boss Baby. But other than that, like, Seabiscuit, Great Gatsby, not a lot.
Toby, come to the MCU, make a cameo.
No. Next Spider-Verse movie, bro. One of the Spider-Men's got to be Tobey Maguire.
Well, I mean, we kind of did get the cameo, like you pointed out.
Yeah, but he should voice one of them.
Please. I want it.
Yeah.
I want it so bad.
But yeah.
There was real no way to avoid that. I mean, pretty much every movie kind of has this curse of aging to our natural timeline versus its own timeline kind of thing. Like, you go back and you watch any of, like, the old Bruce Willis movies or any of the old fucking action movies, because I love shitty action movies. They're my go-to. That and B-list horror movies. Like, I just picked up, like, fucking $70 worth of fucking Shout Factory horror movies.
When we hang out this weekend, I gotta get you back more into more good old shitty sci-fi with Doctor Who, I'm telling you.
Oh, God.
No, you did. Okay, what I showed you, did you like?
Yeah, what you showed me, I like.
Well, then, it's basically good. It's good from there to like the recent season, and then we'll just wait
yeah.
until Chibnall's gone, and then we'll get back on it.
We'll just wait until this one dude's gone.
Just take Chris Chibnall and push him to a different show.
No, push him out of sci-fi, from what I've seen. That thing was that one fuzzy creature that I sent the gif of is supposed to be terrifying but cute. It just reminds me of the Tribbles from Star Trek. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess final thoughts for me is it's cool to go back and see early, rich, snarky, douchey Tony Stark, and what he ends up as, and especially let's the elephant. Oh, look at that lightning in the back. Did you see that shit? Anyway,
I've got my curtains pulled, so no.
There's lightning for me. And where do we live? Like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Anyway, I lost it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, no. So like, let's address the elephant in the room here. When Tony was given the proof he has a heart thing, I was like, no.
No, we know what that becomes now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Oh, that is still one of the most touching moments in all of the MCU.
I think we've probably said everything we can say, unless you have anything else, David.
There's really not a whole lot else to say about this. I'm sure the Hulk one will be even shorter because I'll probably need
I don't
Brad
remember
to be.
anything about the Hulk movie, and
I'm sure you're going to need to be here to remove the pistol from my hand because I fucking hated that movie.
I'm excited. Do you own it?
Yeah, I do in 4K.
Oh, yeah.
I upgraded my hatred.
And the only other thing I remember is I'm trying to think. I haven't seen either of the Captain Americas either, so that'll be interesting. I hear the second Captain America is good.
Winter Soldier's fantastic.
Okay.
The first Captain America is 7 hours long. It's so fucking long.
I'm gonna look that up.
It's not really 7 hours, but it just drags on
I'm curious.
forever.
Hold on a second. Captain America. I'm very curious.
The first Avenger.
Your mom's the first Avenger. All right.
She's old enough to be there when the first one was there. No,
2011? No. Really? That's when that came out?
And
That's
no.
what it says. That's what it says. Get fucked? That's what it says. 124 minutes. That ain't even that long. Wait. Hold on. 124 minutes into hours.
God.
Okay. Yeah, all right. That's kind of long. All right. I take it back. That's kind of long.
Yeah. Get fucked. And what was 2011? God damn, it doesn't seem like it's that. It doesn't seem like it's that recent. But fuck, it drags on forever because of all the fucking war politics.
Yeah, I might like it then.
Oh, you.
Although no, but it's like boring old World War II politics, right?
Yeah.
No one cares about that. Yeah. Fuck that shit. That's. I mean, it's important to learn from, but I'm more interested in current politics. But yeah, I think that
Thor is so goddamn small, but it's at least a decent movie.
We'll get to it when we rewatch it because we are now rambling. So, final thoughts for you, sir.
Final thoughts. Get ready for us to do one of these a week, maybe 2 of these a week. Who knows? Just depends on how we want to schedule them, right?
Sure, they'll come out when they come out.
I'd like to give them all out before Far From Home.
When's that coming out again? July? I don't know about that, David. That makes...
Alexa, when does Spider-Man Far From Home release?
It's July something.
The film Spider-Man Far From Home will be released on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019.
That ain't fucking happening. You want to review 11 Marvel movies in a month? Get the fuck out of here.
A month and a half.
Not happening.
It's possible.
We'll try to do 2 a month at least. And with that, peace.